It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Back at Slumberland at the Lake for another weekly edition of Cup of Coffee with Wild Will and Uncle Chris right here. And Chris, I'm doing better than you might imagine considering the couple weeks I've had in sports.
Yeah, I saw the Bills lost an unbelievable game to
Again,
Minnesota.
another loss.
Yeah. How are the Sabres doing?
5 losses in a row. The Indians are done. The Lakers are done. I'm not doing well in fantasy. But listen, I'm growing up. I'm excited. I'm alive. I haven't put on 10 pounds, which I normally would, and I didn't eat myself into a coma Sunday night. So all signs point towards me growing up.
That's good. That's a good thing, right?
So not much sports to talk about this week because who wants to talk about sports? But hey, lots of good local stories. Wait, is Lake Race done?
They're kind of done.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I can't keep up with Lake Race, but apparently new name, new location. We'll tell you about that. Plus, election results are in, and believe it or not, guess what passed?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, dun, 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 dun. That might explain why Joe Biden says some of the things he does, wouldn't it?
I don't know if anybody can explain that, right?
Listen, Aldi officially open, and I took a little trip into Aldi on Monday to see if the prices and all the hoopla was, worth it. And I'll tell you what, pretty impressed. I'll talk about that. Plus, of course, football in the Lake area. Done. Osage Camerton lose, and we've got a hometown hero, that and much more. But first, listen, Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
It's coming right up, a couple days away.
I'm not going to eat a lot this year.
Right.
I'm going to keep it at a bare minimum, try to take care of myself going into the new year. But what do you think of when you think of Thanksgiving? Big get-togethers, right?
Oh, yeah. Turkey, stuffing. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to need a big old table to put all the fixings, and they got you covered right here at Slumberland at the Lake. Let's hear from our guy, Daryl Cunningham.
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and that means Black Friday specials. We have a power reclining sofa, and you get the matching recliner for free. We have headboard, footboard, and rails, and we're even going to include the mattress for $398. So many specials, too numerous to mention, but just know you're going to save a ton of money. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, so we welcome you back, and before we get right into our local stories, it was a rough week, but I decided Sunday about 5 o'clock after the Bills game was over and the late afternoon games had started. I was like, I gotta get out of this. So I got off the couch. I decided not to eat anything stupid. I got to sleep early and got an early start on Monday. That way I could remove myself from that place. Because 3 of my 4 fantasy leagues, I lost in Pick'em, both of my leagues, lost first place in both leagues. Bills lost second in a row, Sabres 5 in a row, Camdenton's done, Osage is done. Mizzou basketball, 3-0, but Mizzou football still losing, so not a lot exciting for me right now in sports.
Well,
Chris.
in Mizzou basketball, they haven't really played anybody yet, right? They've played Little Sisters of the Poor and some school called Lindenwood.
Lindenwood, come on, that's where Danny Mack came from, the
Really?
voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. They got a great broadcast
Wow.
and journalism department there, but they don't play anyone in the early conference. Non-conference schedule. But seriously, sports are rough right now.
Yeah, they are. But the thing about sports is, and I had to learn this at some point, I think all sports fans have to learn this at some point, is we get so wrapped up into our teams. It becomes such an emotional marriage thing that when they lose, it kills us.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to divorce ourselves from that just to enjoy the sport for the sport. It's hard to do, though, because we kind of make it our religion, you know, and stuff like that. It's really a tough thing to do. It's a hard thing to learn. But after you get knocked down so many times, you do start to learn how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there. The Bills are. I saw a video of showing the craziest endings in NFL history, and of those 10 games, Buffalo's in 4 or 5 of them.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And they're not coming out on top on any of those games.
And I thought about that when it was happening, when Minnesota pulled off that miraculous, comeback win over Buffalo. I thought, Buffalo again? Because you had the Tennessee Miracle, right? You had the skate in the crease.
Yeah,
you had
99, same year as the Music City Miracle.
Wide right. All of these things.
The 4 Falls of Buffalo
happened to Buffalo.
And there's so many more.
It's like being a Cub fan. You're just asking for pain.
And the great thing is we're in middle of Missouri, so no one down here really cares about Western New York sports like I do.
Right.
And the Bills and Sabres so heavily. But I know the Lake area cares about my picks and my fantasy teams, and I'm letting them down. All right, so I just had to get that out there. I'm growing up because I showed up. I didn't take a day off work yet this week.
Good for you, man. I mean, we're moving forward,
No one
baby.
had to talk me off the ledge completely. So, all right, so we teased it in the intro. Lake race, no more. But hold on, there is going to be the same race, new location, new name, but not even really a new location.
Yeah, it's kind of weird what's going on here. Is they're changing the name and they're kind of trying to act like it's something different, but it really isn't. I think it's really the same thing. So Lake Race has a new name and kind of a new location is what they're saying. Lake Race will now be called Lotto Power Fest, right?
Yeah.
So no more Lake Race. Lotto Power Fest. It's set for June 1st through the 3rd this coming summer, this new race, and it won't be down by the dam. It's going up to like the Horny Toad area, right? Which it's been up there a year or two before. Even that is not new. They've done it there before. They just kind of keep going back and forth between Horny Toad and down by the dam, but they're going back to the Horny Toad area, which I thought they changed that because it was too dangerous there.
It's like Brad and Jen. I can't keep up. The cool thing is there is going to be a race in June this year. No longer Lake Race, going to go back to the H-Toads in Camden on the Lake, which does kind of offer, I would say, probably more viewing location from land. It's really tough, even when they put those bleachers up down there. I mean, there's not a lot of great places to see from land over there, and there's so much of the end of the Bagnell Dam Strip that's dilapidated and just torn down. You can't really access it. It's not safe to view from. So I think this venue in this area does make sense. They said, the strip businesses, they wanted the through traffic on Saturday. So I think everybody wins. A lot of the same people involved. Of course, Tom Abbott, who's always been heavily involved, Jeff Dorhauer, Christy Jansen, and then board members Ryan Gademeyer, Jan Labonte, Shannon Todd Bohart, and Jeremy Gorham. So a lot of names we've seen before.
Yeah, just the same names, really, right?
It's a proven concept. It's a good race. It's a sanctioned event, but maybe a new name, a couple of new names on the board might give it a little charge. But I thought last year was fairly successful.
And I think it's really a pretty good race. The problem, I think, with formerly Lake Race and now Lotto Power Fest is that it's trying to be what we already have at the Lake of the Ozarks in the shootout.
Right.
This is, they're trying to get up to the level of the shootout, and that's going to be a several decades long task to,
Well, never,
grow up
because they're
there,
two completely different events. Like the shootout, so people understand if you don't, the shootout is just different boats, different vessels getting out there one at a time and running as fast as they possibly can on a 3/4 of a mile course. It's cool, but honestly, it's kind of boring when you sit there and watch it for 2 days at 6 hours a day.
Unless you watch it on Lake TV, and then it's really great.
Sure, absolutely what I was about to say next. But when you look at Lake Race, then you have these different classes, and it's more like a NASCAR race. They're out there on the water, side by side, and then you have the F1 series or whatever it was. What was it? The F1 series last year with like those Super Spark or whatever. I'd never seen like it. Huh?
I thought it was pretty cool though. You got boats flipping and crashing into each other, and
it's
it is
more
kind
exciting
of fun.
than shootout when it's just one boat on the course at a time. But for whatever reason, they've struggled to get the same flair, and that's because shootout has the charity aspect, raises massive money for charity, which is coming up Thursday. Of next week is the shootout check presentation, which is going to be really cool. So we'll find out officially how much money the shootout has raised on next week's show, which will be super exciting there. All right, so election results are in. You guys could probably or already have seen all of those across the state, but I wanted to break down an element on the ballot that is causing a lot of confusion and a lot of division. A lot of people, we talked about it, whether the Proposition 3 or Amendment 3 was a yes or a no and why. And so we talked with Kevin Halderman on what's burning about why he thought it was a bad idea and all the hidden things in that amendment. And so going in, we weren't really sure, and it was fairly close across the state. I mean, I know that our local counties, Miller, Morgan, and Camden, voted no to Amendment 3, but across the state, you see those big counties like St. Charles, St. Louis County, St. Louis City, all of those counties with those huge populations, they were yes in favor. And so now that it has passed, some of the big questions I saw, and I took this right out of St. Louis Dispatch, is how soon will you be able to buy? Amendment 3 goes into effect in early December, and that's going to trigger a process that could see the state issue its first comprehensive marijuana dispensary facility to current dispensaries as early as February 6th. So I don't know if that means like the 7th or if then there'd be a period there. Also, how much can you buy? Once stores are licensed, anybody 21 or older, this is kind of crazy to me, up to 3 ounces per day. I mean, that's 21 ounces a week. That's over a pound a week you could purchase. Now that's dried, unprocessed. The state uses a separate weighing system to determine the legal amounts of gummies and other products. So just some of these questions that were immediately getting thrown out there. Can you resell marijuana? No, still illegal. There are some exceptions if you're playing caretaker. How much marijuana can you grow? So all those questions you can look on the St. Louis Dispatch. They've got all of those. One of the other big questions, can you consume in public? And unless it's a designated area, it does not look like it will be, and you could get fined up to $100. And another thing I found interesting is they are giving the cities power to put a vote in front of the people, and if 60% of the people don't want that county or that municipality to have recreational marijuana, they can put it on their ballot, and then they could lay down a city ordinance that they didn't accept it. Citywide, you're not allowed to. So that was kind of interesting as well. And then also a big thing is the expungements are going to have to start. All of these people, nonviolent criminals who are locked up from marijuana, THC crimes, their records have a chance to get expunged. However, these people locked up are going to have to petition the government to allowed to get out, and then they're going to have to go through a lengthy process to have it expunged, whereas people who may have misdemeanor charges, those will be done pretty quickly. So I thought it was kind of wild, a lot of the details, but you talk about recreational marijuana, Chris, in 38 pages, and now the process begins, and it's happening quickly.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear we've learned in the last 2-4 years that our voting system is broken, right? Our election system is broken, and we need to figure it out. You know, whether you agree with what passed or didn't pass, but it's like Proposition 3, and you had, an expert in to talk about, I think it was like 38 pages of what would change the Missouri Constitution. And so you got 38 pages of legalese with stuff hidden in there, in page 12 and 24 and 36 that, nobody knows about, but all that's on the ballot is it okay to legalize marijuana?
Hey, and not to mention, Chris, that when this hits the floor, they start to have discussions about this. This might be one of 15 different bills or amendments or topics being discussed. And so you're supposed to be diligent and read a 38-page amendment and a 126-page bill and be prepped and ready for open dialogue and discussion as the voted or elected representative of the people. And that's really how the loopholes come in, is you make it appear like one thing, smoke and mirrors, you vote on it, and then once it's in vote, now you're really in trouble, because once the CEO, this chief executive officer, is named, they are held accountable by nobody except for themselves and those 4 priorities. If you didn't get to catch it, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that interview with Kevin Halderman. But he talked about the 4 things that person's going to try to do, and that has a lot to do with education and information. But it doesn't list it has to have anything to do with education about marijuana, recreational marijuana, medicinal marijuana. It just says education and awareness. And that's a vague way they could do just about anything they want to within our schools. And that's really just a microcosm of what's happening now in government. I mean, we could go on about it for hours and hours. But as we see, it's going to change the way people do business. It's going to change the way people vacation. And you could still, this is what you mentioned you were worried about, and a really good point. If you're pulled over by police, can you be considered driving impaired? Driving while impaired, whether alcohol or marijuana or other substance, it's still illegal. So when someone is pulled over because they are suspected of driving under the influence of, let's say, marijuana, the police can still perform a series of tests to determine if the driver is impaired. The officer can also ask a drug recognition expert to screen the driver to get their expert opinion. So don't think for those of you out there, you recreational smokers, that you now have a pass to get behind the wheel of the car because that's still impaired. And that's what you were really worried about.
Well, it was one of the many things, but yeah, it's just our election system is screwed up, messed up. When you got 38 pages with stuff hidden in there, you got to figure out how to let the people know what they're really voting on.
Yeah.
Right? Not to mention the problems with voting machines, not to mention the problem with mail-in ballots and fake ballots and dead people voting and all that stuff. We got a big problem in this country. If we don't get that figured out, we're going to lose the country.
Oh, and I always questioned the reliability of the voting system when there's machines and stuff done later. 10 years ago, and it's certainly over the last 4 to 6, I think that the trust between the American people and the voting system has been lost, and I think it's way lost, and it's going to be a long time before that's restored. All right, so moving on, Aldi, I told you about that. Huge deal. I couldn't understand why people were so fired up about the Lake of the Ozarks getting Aldi. Like, we got Hy-Vee, we got Deerbergs, we got Woods, Save-A-Lot, we got Town & Country, we got grocery stores coming out of grocery stores. Why do we need an Aldi? Well, I happened to go in on Monday, Chris, and first, parking lot was packed. People were everywhere. You see the people walking in and out the door here, and I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you liked it?
Well, it wasn't really my style. Like bigger grocery stores, this was kind of packed, you know, but the pricing and quality blew me away. As a matter of fact, I'm a big chips and salsa guy. I think the best chips in the world is South the Border. You had those?
I
They're
think
like
so, yeah.
The red bag, they're real big,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're like
okay.
real bubbly and salty. Well, they have those for 59 cents a bag. So you bet your sweet butt I bought a whole case of 11
Really?
bags.
Did you really?
So I'll be bringing you a bag to the
Wow,
office with some of my
okay.
salsa. So you'll have that to look forward to. But produce and meat, and they even had turkeys in their middle freezer section. They had all of their Thanksgiving stuff. They had butterball turkeys, which we just showed you last week, were $1.69 a pound.
Yeah.
And they have them for $1.07 a pound.
Wow.
At Aldi right now. And then they have pies and pie crust and just about everything, including like toys and stuff. So Aldi officially open. I was super excited. And one thing they do is you have to pay a quarter to get your cart.
A quarter to get your cart, really?
And listen to this though, you get your quarter back when you return the cart. I think that's brilliant.
That seems smart.
Because
yeah.
that incentive, it gives people an incentive to bring their cart back. You can tell a lot about somebody if you watch them have a cart in a parking lot with no one looking. Because if you don't walk your cart back to the cart return, a lot of chances you take shortcuts in everything in life, you know. So I think it's a pretty good idea, and then it motivates people. Hey, return your cart, get your quarter back, and you have to bring your own bag. I think it's cool.
Right.
So
we had Aldi's when I lived in Dallas, and again, it wasn't really our style. We didn't go to that one very much. It kind of is. I don't understand the big why people are so excited about it.
You and Mrs. Uncle Chris shop for your groceries at Rolex.
Oh, right,
so of course
yeah,
you
right,
wouldn't
yeah.
be going to Aldi. You go have a bottle of Evian, please. They don't have Evian. They have great value and always save.
But it is amazing to me how many people are so excited and fired up about this.
So I don't know. I was just surprised. I could kind of see because a lot of the produce, they had stuff that was 50% of anywhere else you could get it at the lake, like grapes, you know, for $1.29 a pound and things like that. And that adds up. When you go grocery shopping right now, I spend more money in the grocery store than anywhere else. More than mortgage, more than, well, probably besides Tom Brady cards. But,
well, there you
know,
go. Yeah.
groceries are that number one bill. And so I think that's a huge deal for families who don't mind going in. And I'm telling you what, you're going to save some money. I know people who are saying they're saving 30 to 50% so far this week.
I wonder, are they doing anything to help people coming across the bridge? I know Hy-Vee used to. They might still do that.
No, Hy-Vee does not.
They do
do
not
that
do that
anymore.
anymore.
They did away with that.
So I wonder if they're helping people come across the bridge. That would be an interesting thing.
It would be, although I always found that would be hard to pay for itself, you know, as the grocery store is considered. But
sure.
So Aldi officially open. Make sure you stop by and see them. All right, so local football team season ends. Osage, after starting 0-3.
Look at that shirt, baby. We'll
go them last, 'cause
Wild Will bought me this shirt.
We'll go there last because we got to talk about Coach Shore a little bit. But Osage wins 7 in a row after starting 0-3 and then had to travel down to play Reed Springs and they lost 35-6, a game they were never really in. Reed Springs too much. So their season ends 7-4, but after starting 0-3 to ring off 7 straight wins, I think Coach Shannon Jolly really got that program heading in the right direction, playing their best football down the stretch. Tough to see their season end, but really solid year for them.
Yeah, and our last high school football coaches show is airing this week on Lake TV. You can see that at 10:02, 2:02, and 6:02. So you get to hear Coach Jolly and Coach Shore talking about how the season and how it ended and all that stuff. It really was a great turnaround year for Shannon Jolly and the Indians. They lost their first 3. Everybody was going, oh, here we go again. Then they run off a 7-game win streak, make it all the way to the district championship. I think we're seeing that program turn around, and I think they're going to be good for a long time now. As long as Shannon Jolly's there, I think the Osage Indians will be really tough, and they'll be playing for district championships.
Yeah, I'd like to see that come to fruition because I'm going to try out for running back next time with Coach Shannon
Did you
Jolly.
see him try out for quarterback? He didn't quite make the team, but it was a good try. You know.
Make the team indeed. All right, Camden 9-1 headed into the district championship. They lost and they got beat pretty bad, 55-14. Their season ends 9-2. Was Jeff Shore's 34th overall year. Part of the program is 11th as head coach. Comes to a close. Bear Shore, the senior quarterback, 37 total touchdowns on the year, and they come up short, but a really good run for them. Sad to see it end for them the way it did at home against Lebanon, to play the way they did. Probably their worst, performance of the year, start to finish. Sad to see that. But although this chapter may end, the Shore legacy will live on forever in Camden, and a lot of those kids are going to go on to do big things for many years. So, but man, I wanted both of these teams to advance. Tough to see because we talked about it a little bit Friday on the broadcast. Unless you play high school football, you won't understand it. But these kids that for the very last time, in all reality, are putting the pads and putting the helmet on, it's big for them. It's big for their families. It's big for their significant others and close friends because they know what they've gone through. So you just feel for them when it ends like this.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Lebanon, another local team. Will Christian's team looked good. And you can check out the Shore Family Legacy, not only that feature, but you're also doing a special coaches show with the Shore family, I believe, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So this week, it's the last time we sit down this season with Coach Jolly and Coach Shore talking about games. Next week, we're doing a coaches show retirement special since Jeff Shore is retiring, and we're calling it the Shore Family Memories. So Coach Jeff Shore brings his wife, Stacy, and their 3 kids in, and we'll talk about the memories of coaching over the years, playing over the years, the good and the bad and all that stuff. So it ought to be really interesting. And I warned Jeff, I said, I think there's going to be some tears shed in this one. So that ought to be interesting. But be sure to join us for that next week. Again, a coaching show, a retirement special, Shore Family Memories. And again, you can see that at 10:02, 2:02, and 6:02 every day on Lake TV. So that'll be good.
I'm going to show up for that because I'm going to have all these
footballs. It'll be a water fest,
I'm going to have all these footballs. I'm going to have every Shore family member from start to finish sign these and limit them and put them up on eBay. All right, so that'll be cool. You can check that out, of course, starting next week. So Hometown Heroes by CFC, we started that about 4 months ago, and we've gotten to highlight a lot of great people around the lake area. And I got to introduce you to someone this guy's been here at the lake now for 8 years, but he's quiet. He doesn't make a lot of noise, but you might not realize just how incredibly special this man is. I'm talking about this week's Central Ozarks Medical Center's hometown hero. It's Lake Ozark Police Chief Gary Launderville. This guy is incredible. So I was under the understanding that he had been here for a long time.
Right.
He was actually sworn in as Lake Ozark Police Chief in September of 2014. He had just retired. He worked for Buena Vista County in Iowa for 32 years, the last 3 as their sheriff. Came to the lake to retire, and just a couple months after retirement, got the call from his neighbors, said, hey, Lake Ozark's hiring a police chief. You ought to take the job. Well, he's not one to sit down and do nothing, so sure enough, he applied and got the job sworn in September. Now, there's so many things about this guy. I had no idea he'd been on the force 42 years. Didn't even seem possible. In January 2010, while in Buena Vista County, he was rescuing a mother and a daughter during a brutal, violent snowstorm, and he was actually hit by an oncoming SUV and flung 20 feet in the air. Miraculously, he survived and lived to tell about it. Now, for his many years of service, as well as that rescue mission, Chief Launderville was named the first annual Heroes Game Award winner at the Iowa Hawkeyes and Nebraska Huskers rivalry game, and that award started in 2011, beating out over 200 other nominations. They said for his rescues, his ideas, his selflessness, while life on the line. But more impressive, Gary and his wife Sandy, they're married 43 years, Chris. She was been a homemaker. They've got 4 kids of their own, and they also took in 3 foreign exchange students. And she also worked in Family Protective Services in Iowa in different capacities. And they actually decided after these 3 foreign exchange students, they wanted to start being foster parents. Well, over the last 30 years, they've fostered over 133 children, adopting 7 of them, welcoming into their family. And now they have a beautiful blended family with 11 kids and 13 grandbabies with 14 on the way. Sandy and Gary Launderville are the cream of the crop. Incredible people. I got an opportunity to go to the Mizzou football game a couple weeks ago, and I had never gotten to sit down and actually hear their story and get to know them, but selfless, kind, incredible people. And that's why this week, Lake Ozark Police Chief Gary Launderville is our Central Ozarks Medical Center hometown hero. So we salute you, Chief, for all you do. And I'll tell you what, big football fan. Iowa Hawkeyes is, ironically enough, he's actually a big Hawkeyes fan.
Yeah, so too bad for him.
Well, you're a Huskers fan. How's that going for you?
That's too bad for me.
I say you can mouth all you want. You can mouth my Tigers. You can mouth the Chiefs Hawkeyes, but
both Mizzou and Iowa could beat my Nebraska team. So I have no room to talk.
That's true. All right, so on to sports real quick. The Chiefs looked okay. I mean, they only beat the Jaguars by 10. Mahomes 4 touchdowns in the game. The big takeaway was Kadarius Toney looks like he is going to be a contributor. He's going to be a playmaker for them. Juju in concussion protocol. I don't know if he's going to be back Sunday, but if not, Toney's going to have even a bigger role. And that is a huge game next Sunday at the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, because now the Chiefs have the 1 seed in the AFC, and it gets pretty bunched between 6 and 7 win teams right there. So this stretch here from this to the end of the season, every week is going to be huge, and the Chargers are going to be hungry to get that W.
Yeah, and what we've learned from the Chiefs so far this year is, again, they're very, very good. Again, they usually play at the level of the competition every week. So if they're playing the worst team in the NFL, they usually kind of play iffy, just like last week, and they win, but they could have won by a lot more. But they play the best, and like the Bills, and it goes down to the last second. So they're a really good team again. They play at the level of the competition again. The game at the Chargers this week is going to be really interesting. The Chargers are banged up. They're hurt. They're missing a lot of people. So the Chiefs might be able to take advantage of that. You mentioned the Chiefs jump in front of the Bills for the first place playoff standing in the AFC right now. There's still a long way to go. But, yeah, there's so many good teams in the AFC this year. You got the Chiefs, the Bills, Miami. The Titans are really good and stuff like that. If you lose a game or two, you're going to lose playoff positioning.
Yeah, and for the next couple of weeks, they get some big matchups. And if you look at our pick'ems the last couple of weeks, it's not been good. Andrew now in first place, all by himself. He's got a point over me. You didn't have a great week this week either when it comes to pick'ems.
I was terrible. I finished in last place this week.
Yeah, 6 and 8. I wasn't a whole lot better at 7 and 7. All right, so you got your picks?
You know what? I forgot them.
You forgot your picks? All right, so that's okay anyway, because we're running close on time. But Andrew in first, I'm in second, and then Kevin Hornick, want to give a shout out to his Bearcats. They won at Emporia State on Saturday.
He was as bad as I was this week, right? Was he one better than me?
No, he had his money pick.
Oh, okay.
You didn't get your money pick. But his Bearcats win at Emporia State. They'll play Saturday at Ouachita Baptist in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. You heard of them?
Yes. There used to be some Cowboys that went to that school.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Very good. All right, a couple events coming up. On November 26th from 1 to 3, enjoy games and visit with Santa. Free snacks at the Lori COMC Clinic.
Nice.
And listen, believe it or not, next week it's kickoff. Actually, no, it's this week. Gala of Trees is underway starting Thursday at Wobbly Boots. So from now to the 27th, those trees will be on display for a wonderful cause. If you haven't checked that out, you definitely want to do that. And then this week, Kimberly, what's Kimberly's last name?
Sovcik.
Very good. I wasn't going to try it.
From the YMCA.
Kimberly Sovcik from the YMCA on the Community Spotlight Show. No high school football, but listen, live high school basketball starts December 15th, Smith Cotton at Versailles. You don't want to miss that. For Uncle Chris, I'm Wild Will. Want to give a big shout out to Jill and Daryl. Come by, wish them happy holidays, and get your new Thanksgiving table. Until next week, my friends, goodbye and God bless.